Be me. I'm 9 years old. Live in a remote mountainous village in a war-torn country during the 90s. People are struggling. Food is scarce. And the war has finally reached the outskirts of the village, causing multiple deaths. Everyone is scared shitless. And men of the village have few bullets and guns left, and no electricity. One night in the late winter, a boy was walking towards his home normally from his grandparents' house, like he always did. Suddenly, the whole town hears a loud scream, and many, including me, rush to see what's happening. We found the kid has pissed himself, and his face is covered with dirt, with his eyes wide open and in shock state. After they pour water on his face, and relentlessly screaming at him to say what happened, he starts talking while crying loudly and gasping. Heads, man big, bags with chains. He looked at me, and I ran away screaming. The men ridiculed him and said he probably saw someone with bags going towards his home, and that he just imagined things in the dark. Days later, another kid ran towards his home, screaming the same thing. The next night, another kid went missing. Men decided to start a night patrol. All kids were told not to leave their homes after the sun goes down. They searched everywhere in the mountain until the dawn. Next morning, the army has arrived to town, and all men had to hide in the mountain not to be imprisoned. For nights, the village was terrorized not by invading armies, but by a strange creature that kept knocking on doors at night and peeking through windows in the dark. The situation got so bad, even the army got wind of it and started searching for this thing, or man. 2 days later, the army retreated back to the outskirts of the village, and the men went down from the mountain. Along with them, the missing boy. He had shallow cuts all over his body. He told them that a monster, dressed in black plastic bags, chains, and bones, took him and beaten him and left him in the mountain. The area of the mountain was known to the village. For years, the village people used a cave in the top of the mountain for a dreadful reason. The cave was used to bury children and miscarried births. Men decided to set up an ambush for this thing. Everyone got armed with what little they had, and some even got axes and large knives. They waited through the entire night, until it seemed all hope was lost that they would find him. It was about dawn when what appears to be a man dressed with, again, nothing but black garbage bags and chains around his body, with a large bag with bones sticking out of it, came from afar. They waited from a distance to see and know more, and to see what he does next. The man enters the cave, and then comes out with a bucket full of dirt and empties it outside, revealing what to be remains of a child's dead body. He then proceeds to skin the limbs and take the bones inside of his bag. Attack mode is engaged. Man is caught, and after heavy beatings, they discovered he's been doing this for a while, just digging up children's bodies. The wacko thought he was some sort of wizard and wanted children bones to summon devils to service him. The child was kidnapped for his blood. Needless to say, this was a war zone, and men didn't want someone scaring the shit out of their families more than they already were. So, they killed the guy. They buried his ass in the mountain, and they called it a day. Richard, quote-unquote, the Iceman, used to take people to a cave in Bucks County, PA. He started feeding giant rats raw meat until they would eat a human being, alive or dead. He would film these rat attacks with a stationary camera and light. As far as I know, no one has ever found the exact cave or seen the films outside of law enforcement. Pic related. It's a scan from the book by Philip Carlo, showing a drawing made by Richard, showing one of the victims being eaten alive by the rats. Dad saw eyes in a forest. Be me, mid-teens. Younger brother, overworked, exhausted dad. Dad's one love is hunting. Big game, waterfowl, turkey, and geese. Geese are absolute tanks, but that's a digression for another day. Dad's about dead. Decide he's doing a 2-day hunt for spring turkey with bro and me. Drive out, hike several miles, set up camp and sleep in the woods. Go to bed late, about 12 p.m. I sleep fine, bro sleeps fine. Dad doesn't get a wink. Hears stuff outside. We wake up early, go and hike out, set up for gobblers. Dad passes out. We don't realize as we're 30 yards away. Realize he hasn't called in a while. Go and check on him. Find him. Shake him. He wakes just as an absolutely massive tom passes by. Looks almost like the Mexican ones. Try and shoot. It gets away. Keep hunting. Bro takes a nap in a fungi pit. Gets ringworm or something. Elk show up. Stampede. Right, left, between, and over us. Dad gets bumped by one. Bro and me almost shoot at them. But no turkeys. Hike out. Driving home. Me and Bro rib Dad about passing out. Yeah, very funny and on. Dad starts talking about the eyes on the forest floor. Growing in spread out networks. Faces on trees. Intelligent. They're aware of him. Not hostile, but very, very fey. Says he saw the turkey before it even showed up. Me and Bro believe him. It was a weird hunting trip, and both of us have seen damn weird shit before. Go home. Discover the Green Man. Show Dad. He kinda twitches. What is that, Anon? It's the Green Man. Some European nature spirit, Dad. It looks like the faces on the trees. Dad accidentally himself into a spirit journey with Western components. Kinda tempted to try myself. The following happened in a small town in rural Russia, near where I'm from, in the early 90s. I'll reconstruct the story from the rumors that I heard. Please excuse any mistakes, as English is not my first language. 1 year back in the late 80s, children and teenagers began disappearing in this town. Obviously nothing was announced in the media, but people began to talk, and police started an investigation. It was assumed that a maniac was on the loose. Parents started accompanying their children to school, and playing outside was, usually, supervised. But the disappearances continued. People in Russian towns usually live in huge multi-story blocks. A resident of one of these apartments, let's call him Mr. Ivan, lived with his 8-year-old daughter. One day, his daughter did not return from school. This was reported to police, and Mr. Ivan was devastated. He searched everywhere and asked his neighbors, but no one saw anything. In a flat above his, there lived a young couple, an ambulance doctor and a nurse. They were a nice couple, liked by everybody. About a week after his daughter disappeared, Mr. Ivan heard noise coming from the flat above. It sounded like some sort of animal squealing. This noise continued on and off for the next month. Neighbors complained to the doctor, and he said that he got a puppy and it was just barking. But he was training it, and soon it will keep quiet. Meanwhile, KGB experts were called from Moscow to help the investigation. This was after Chikatilo was caught, so they had experience on maniacs. A few dismembered corpses of children were found in the woods. Police and army commenced unmarked patrols around schools and other public areas. One of these patrols noticed a car parked near a school with a woman behind the wheel. The policeman walked up to the car and asked the woman for her documents. All of a sudden, she drove off at high speed. They chased and saw her car crash into a pole. She was badly injured. They opened the boot and saw an unconscious child lying there. After checking her documents, they found out the woman's address, which happened to be the flat above Mr. Ivan's, whose daughter disappeared. The police approached the door, and they heard the yelping noise mentioned earlier. They knocked, and the door was opened by the doctor. He was restrained, and police proceeded to search the flat. In the bathroom, they found a girl whose arms were amputated at the elbow, and legs amputated at the knee. The amputations were done professionally, and she had bandages on, and no infection. Her tongue was also removed, and she was tied by a collar on her neck in the bathtub. She was flailing her limbs and making yelping noises. The policemen were in shock. Meanwhile, the neighbors heard the commotion and came to look. Among them was Mr. Ivan, who saw his daughter and attacked the doctor who was held by police. The other neighbors and even the police joined in and ended up beating him to death. The police continued to search and found a few dead children with amputated limbs. Only one other was found alive. He was found in an abandoned building tied by the neck. His legs and arms were amputated, his eyes and tongue were removed, and it was assumed that he had been kept alive in this condition for, at least, over a year. These doctors were amputating limbs to create some sort of pets out of children. Obviously, this whole thing was kept secret, not to upset the public. be me, at 9 p.m. on the road, in the passenger seat, driving with bro near a swamp. Look to my left at the swamp. Notice a tree in the forest, above the swamp, falling. Strange, but whatever. The base of the tree must have been rotted away. Get close to our destination, a city. Look again to my left. Every 10 to 20 seconds, a tree would fall within the forest as we pass them. Bring this up to friend. He also notices it and speeds the car as we pass a bridge to our destination. On the way back, the swamp was calm. Usually that part of the forest becomes a swamp for like 2 months in the spring, but trees falling over one after one, with no powerful wind or beavers in the region, ain't a common thing. In 1986, Soviet authorities intervened on a riot outside the city. According to witness reports, pilgrims had been gathering outside a small house in the city outskirts, lured by the tales of an old woman with the ability to see the future. With the city plagued with above-average child disappearances for over 4 years, the pilgrims became desperate about their situation. The seer, a bedridden widow, had been living with her son for many years, but it was only in her advanced age that her claims of divination had been taken seriously. According to an injured witness of the event, the woman had helped many families to find the remains of their children. She had even worked with the local authorities after they began to suspect the disappearances were the work of a serial killer. Many of the young victims had apparently been drained of their blood, with those that hadn't decomposed entirely exhibiting pale white skin. After word of this had leaked to the public, many suggested that perhaps this had been the work of the local Jews. While the police dismissed the idea of blood libel and worked to track the killer, Christians began to congregate around her house, camping outside her home. Soon, she had been declared a saint by the people for her help in the discovery of the bodies. Her uncanny accuracy did arouse suspicion, but that was soon ignored as she had been bedridden since before the children even began to disappear. Her followers had even begun to hold Catholic Mass at her home, in hopes that God would grant her a vision of the killer. Even the police became discouraged with her inability to find a possible suspect, and looked to her to reveal the identity of the child murderer. With hundreds of pilgrims now camping outside her house in hopes of speaking with the saint herself, her appearances became increasingly sparse. Only a few pilgrims were allowed in every day, most waiting perpetually in muddy tents outside. It happened that one of these pilgrims, the younger brother of one of the missing, found a golden chain in the dirt, only a few meters behind the house. Pulling it, he discovered it was attached to a cross, and that attached to the remains of a minuscule corpse. Panic beset the community. Many demanded an explanation from the seer, and they soon began to push into the house, whose only protectors were those with enough faith to remain loyal to her. A riot erupted, and even those not followers came from the city seeking justice and blood. By the time the Soviet troops arrived to quell the uprising, the pilgrims have scattered, leaving behind tattered tents and many injured. Few details survived the riot, but what is known of the aftermath came from the soldiers who first arrived at the scene. When they entered the house, the smell of rotting flesh assaulted them. The interior of the home had been essentially destroyed, with much of the furniture saturated with deep red stains. The locked basement held several tools for cutting, and collars attached to chains lined the stone walls. A metal table was shoved against the far back of the room, a fluorescent tube being the only light in the room. The only known surviving photograph depicts how the Soviet troops found this woman. She had apparently died days before the riot from various blood clots throughout her body. Some had even burst through her hands and eyes in stigmatic fashion. In a corner of the room was her son, brutally beat to the brink of death. After his long recovery, he later confessed to the murders. Apparently, his mother was a powerful witch who told him that she needed the blood to live. When asked why he did not refuse, he simply stated, "Because her blood is my blood." It's not my story, but it's my dad's from back in the 90s. Sheriff's deputy gets a call about suspicious activity at an old abandoned mental asylum. Future ex-posters probably doing some urban exploring. Goes in with his partner, making lots of noise and banging shit to scare away any kids so they don't have to arrest him and make a scene. Plays here, everybody get the hell out. Silence followed by loud moving upstairs, like people scraping furniture against the floor. His partner says to wait here in case any come running out, and he'll check upstairs. Cursing to himself about getting jumped by a homeless junkie or needing a tetanus shot for all of this, hear him banging around upstairs. Then silence. Then fast footsteps. He's speeding walking down the stairs, with a look of "fuck this shit" on his face. Keeps telling my dad calmly, but firmly, to leave with him. Get out to the cruiser. Won't tell Dad what he saw, but he assures him to just leave. Never officially find out what it was, but he's let on that it was a ghost, or maybe a demon-looking thing that was just sitting up there waiting for him. He doesn't spook easily, and is actually really into paranormal investigations and ghost hunting. Same with all the other X-related stuff, but he will straight up tell you to not go to the place, and nothing will get him to go back. It's got all of the history of places like that. Tortured patients, suicides, suspicious deaths, and etc. So, I wouldn't be surprised if there is something there. Sort of lame, but it's all I got. Alright, for missing a Friday upload, I figure I'll post a, kind of a semi-classic B story. It's not too classic, it's 2019, but I figure you might enjoy this. So sit back. This is a green text of violence, greed, lies, love, conspiracy, death, and chocolate. This is the story of time I sold chocolate in high school. Be me. Grew up in a low-income family. Beginning of freshman year. School is organizing a trip to Europe next year. It's $3,200. I want to go. School offers fundraiser by selling chocolate bars from local candy business. No one but me fundraises because all of the other kids are rich friends who have the trip immediately paid for. How it works is that you buy chocolate at 50 cents each. The money you spent is transferred to your trip account. Then you sell it for $1 to make it back. So it's $1 chocolate and you make 50 cents for each one sold. There were 5 flavors: milk, peanut butter, caramel, and pretzel. He said 5 flavors, but he only listed 4. Anyway, time to get to work. Buy a box of chocolate and start selling it around the school. It goes well. Sell the entire box within 3 days. Then another. And another. By the end of the month, I've sold 10 boxes. Then fortune strikes. School shuts down vending machines for, quote-unquote, health, wellness reasons. No one can buy snacks anymore from school. Everyone turns to me for their snacks. Profits through the roof. Hell yes.png. Raise $1,000 in 3 months. At this rate, I'll have the trip funded in no time. Enter friend that we'll call Kirk. Tall, lanky kid with acne all over face. Is an asshole to everyone and bullies those who can't fight back. One day selling to a usual customer named Hugh. Hugh is a monster and a troublemaker of school. Took 2 tasers to the body and still fought off security, and apparently does cocaine regularly. He buys a peanut butter chocolate bar every day from me. I'm standing in the hallway doing business when Kirk comes over and takes my box from me. I tell him to give it back. "Nuh-uh. All these bars are mine, friend. What are you going to do about it?" Hugh proceeds to punch Kirk in the face. Knock out that PDF. Hugh picks up the box of chocolate, puts $1 in the box, and takes a peanut butter out. "No one hurts my chocolate, man." Then he walks away, as if nothing happened. Since this happened at the bottom of a staircase, the faculty think he just fell down the stairs and knocked himself out, so no one got in trouble. Lol. Later, I hire Hugh as my muscle to guard me and my chocolate. I just pay him in peanut butter chocolate bars. Nothing of interest happens for the rest of the year, and I raise the full $3,200. However, I don't stop selling. There's a loophole where if you fully fundraise your trip, you can keep selling to quote-unquote have a little spending money on the trip. So, sell as much as I can. Over the summer, I get a job at a pizza place. Convince boss to sell my chocolate at front desk. I'm so hungry for cash, I go door to door selling chocolate. Summer ends, and I raise $1,000 for myself. Nice.jpg. Go back to school and begin selling again. Have a few study halls. Best time to sell to bored kids. Cute 8 out of 10 girl buys chocolate from me every day in study hall. It is almost always pretzel or milk. We talk a bit, and we become good friends. Next day, my friend called me, asking me how I was. He moved to a rich private school during middle school years back, and we haven't talked since. Conversation moves to chocolate. Lightbulb.png. "Hey, bro, do you want to help me sell chocolate to help me fundraise my trip?" "Sure. Oh fuck, that was easy. Meet up on the weekend and I give him 3 boxes. Monday rolls around and he calls me. Hey, dude, can I get some more boxes? Wait, why? I sold out. Damn. I now give him 12 boxes a week. I should mention how I get the boxes. At first, the teacher who was organizing the trip kept a whole bunch of boxes in his office, and I would pick up what I needed. But eventually, I grew out of this method. And after I got my license, I would take my dad's truck and buy chocolate by bulk, and store them in my cold basement. I would also keep the chocolate I would be selling in a mini fridge to be cold when I start selling. A true businessman. So, I keep selling. It's October, and I'm with the 8 out of 10 selling her some chocolate. We'll call her Abby. Hey, Anon, are you going to homecoming? No, I don't think so. Why? Oh, no reason. Pick up signals. Are you going? I don't know. I mean, I have a group, but no one is going with me, you know? Yeah. Do you want to go to homecoming with me? She smiles. Of course. Chocolate just gave me a date. Go to homecoming. Enjoy myself, and so does Abby. We start dating. Chocolate gave me a girlfriend. After a month of dating, I convince Abby to sell chocolate on my behalf as well. I now have my friend, Abby, and Hugh employed to my chocolate business. So we continued selling chocolate for the rest of the year. At the end of the year, I made $16,340. Wow.wave. So to any normal person, this should have been raising alarms. However, I got lucky to have the teacher who didn't care or understand how much money I was making. By all definitions, I was breaking school policy. Maybe he felt pity for me and my family's financial situation. I'll never know. On the day before the trip, he emailed me that he needed to give me the money in person before the trip instead of during, since you can only bring a certain amount of cash overseas. I emailed him back and I would meet him at a restaurant. I texted Hugh to pick me up and drive me to the meeting place, and then drop me off. I would need protection when carrying more money than I'd ever seen in my life. It went down like the movies. We walk in, and my teacher's sitting at a table. He got up, carrying a manila folder, and walked past us, handing me the folder when walking past out the door. We walked out of the restaurant, and he drove me back to my house. I opened the folder. $100 bills. Hugh got to my house, and I tipped him $100. Thanks, boss. Am I a mob boss now? The next day, I bring $400 in cash for the trip, and I go to Europe. It was a fun trip. I went to multiple countries, and I'm glad this was my first vacation. I came back with gifts for my family and a beautiful necklace for Abby. Overall, the summer was great. First day of junior year. I came back to school a free man. Not carrying a box of chocolate felt weird. I didn't know what to do with my life. I was walking next to Abby in the hallway. Maybe I'll join a club, or... I walked past a poster on the wall. I stopped and looked at it. Japan trip. Next year, $4,000. Abby saw me looking at the poster on the wall. Oh, no, don't tell me. Yep, she smiles. Time to get to work. So this trip was organized differently than the one before. It was a different group. A group of teachers who organized it had no sponsored fundraisers, and you had to make payments to the trip instead of the funds going to an account. I asked the teachers if I could do my own fundraiser. They agreed. I reestablished my contact with the chocolate shop. The little Italian owner basically loved me and knew me by name. I asked if I could fundraise for my next trip. He said yes. I bought 30 boxes of chocolate and I loaded them into my truck, and I started organizing. So I knew that I had a good thing going here, and that I could make this huge. But I needed to expand my market. I first go to people I know in other schools to see if they want to, quote-unquote, work for me. I get 3 guys from 3 different schools to work for me. Next, I expand the delivery system. I get Hugh to go and ship chocolate to my house every other day. I then finally turn my basement into my chocolate HQ. Boards filled with numbers of boxes sold and who has what amount of boxes. Chocolate boxes are placed out by flavor on fold-out tables, waiting to be sold. The guys would call me when they needed chocolate, and I would have a box waiting for them behind my house in the morning. I paid everyone who worked for me by the amount of boxes that they sold in 2 weeks. I continued to pay Hugh in peanut butter chocolate because, as he says, cocaine pays. Junior year ends, and the grand total is $20,000. My investment in Cutie Pie worked. She's one of my biggest sellers. Over the summer, my employees and I become an actual friend group. We hang out, go camping, the works. Summer ends and we're all ready for our last year selling together. We get a letter in the mail about a new school policy. No eating the halls or classrooms. No peanuts or nuts of any kind. Shit. We gather to decide what to do. We decide to go underground. We hide chocolate in our backpacks and sell in the shadows. The demand for snacks is greater than ever, and dealers for snacks start popping in. Most of them we pay off to stop selling. The good sellers, we hire. I now have 15 employees working for me, racking in the money. Some dealers get caught selling and get detention. They never rat us out, or Hugh would kill them. Fugitively. Or literally, I don't know. The year went by with only one interruption. Cutie Pie was going to rat on us. Apparently there was a reward for the identity of the criminal chocolate dealer, and she wanted to cash in. One of our dealers intercepted that. Hugh went to work. Next day, she wasn't at school. I asked Hugh what he did. I didn't do anything, boss. She was in a car crash. He smiled. Cutie Pie was in a hospital from a car T-boning her. Head trauma. Doesn't remember anything at all. Turns out, Hugh bought a used car under a false identity and followed her till he had the perfect time to strike and ram into her. He doesn't have a scratch on him. I pay him with a box of peanut butter chocolate bars. Eventually, they caught on to the scheme, but it was too late. It was graduation time. I sold 100,381 chocolate bars in my high school year. That's $50,000. I kept about 30,000 for myself. Went to Japan, and I loved every moment. Me and girlfriend go to business school together. I can pay off most of my school when I graduate. Hugh runs a gang selling illegal goods. My friends all in some way go into business field. I ran a chocolate syndicate as a mob boss. I was an employee, a lover, a boss, and a friend. Chocolate changed my life for the better, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. So, I was a little confused as I was reading this, and I think he deleted a part of his story. Because I thought he was talking about, like, Cutie Pie was Abby, but then he talks about Abby at the end, about them two going to business school. So I'm looking through the green text, and there's, like, a part that's crossed out. So I think that's the part where he's talking about, like, oh, I met this cute chick, and I hired her, blah, 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 blah. Or something. I don't fucking know. I don't know.